Alright, Aquila, listen up. My company is reaching out to you because we've identified an unknown distress beacon on Planet 3, Lear system. And I don't have any other ships in the area, so I need you to go check it out. Quietly.
Wait, is it pronounced Lear? I don't know. I don't speak that. I don't speak alien.
Okay, enough horsing around. I need you guys to memorize two things to memory before we move on. This and that. Got it? Good. Let's move on. That starship and that space station are going to come into play later in this video, but for now, welcome YouTube fam. We're talking about Star Citizen. Namely, we're going to be talking about what you're seeing on screen, which is procedurally generated planet exploration, and this is all in-game gameplay that we saw yesterday at CitizenCon. But we're also going to be doing a basic breakdown of the future of Star Citizen, a roadmap, if you will. Rough dates, what we can expect to see in the future patches, stuff like that. First things first, this was just a demo, so don't look at anything that you see in this video as concrete. All of it is a work in progress. All of it is going to be changed, improved upon, added to, and that includes the engine itself, like pop-ins, textures. Don't focus on any of that, just focus on the big picture, because this build is an early look at the tech we're going to be seeing in the game. Music doesn't get any better than this, at least for me anyway. I never actually thought that Star Citizen's music would be as good as it is, but every single track that I've heard is fantastic. The sound design is fantastic as well. I mean, you can hear birds, or alien birds, I guess. You can hear alien things chirping in the trees as the camera's flying by. You can hear the wind. You can hear everything. It sounds like the world is alive. But just so you guys can fully appreciate the planetary tech that they've got going here, this isn't a skybox. Most games in space where you're on a planet, you see a skybox when you're looking up at the stars. You're basically loaded into a very large room, which has a dome-shaped ceiling, and that's the sky. Those are the stars, but not in Star Citizen. You don't have that. You can go from space through the atmosphere of the planet and then land on the surface of it. And when you look up at the stars from a planet, from any planet, what you're seeing up there is real. All of those stars are out there. All of those space stations that you may see in the sky are out there. All of the planets are there. The moons, the asteroids, the rocks, the glints, everything is actually there. There are no hidden loading screens. There's no smoke and mirrors. The developers have been working very hard to make a rock-solid foundation to build this game upon, and I feel like this is definitely worth it. Thanks to the fact that developers don't have a publisher. They don't have publishers breathing down their necks about deadlines, about cutting corners. Okay, here's the first test. Do you guys remember the ship that I told you to make a mental snapshot of? Well, as we've been experiencing all these cinematic camera pans from the cinematic camera, that starship has been descending into the atmosphere of the planet, and it's about to touch down. And this is the constellation Aquila, a vehicle designed primarily for exploration and discovery. Now, all the video you guys are seeing, all the gameplay you guys are seeing are actually from a 2.5 hour live stream presentation of Star Citizen. So that's actually a person at a convention flying this constellation Aquila right now. You'll see a lot of cuts throughout this video. Now, the original video from the live stream was obviously seamless. There weren't any cuts or anything like that. But for the purposes of this video, I figured that it would be best if I condensed the most important clips down into 10 or 15 minutes to show you guys the awesomeness to come in Star Citizen. After he finishes touching down, he's got to go after those distress beacons that we talked about in space. Now, this is kind of a good overview of what a mission could look like in Star Citizen. Now, this isn't obviously the only type of mission. There will be many different types of missions, but distress beacons, that's a big part of space. There's going to be a lot of people getting lost. Luckily, the Aquila is an exploratory vehicle, so it's completely outfitted with all the means he'll need. It's got weapons, spacesuits for the entire crew, which right now is just one, and also an exploration vehicle. You can view this kind of as like an enterprise, a mini Starship Enterprise. Anyway, while he's doing all that stuff, I'm going to talk about the rough roadmap, the rough timeline that we have for Star Citizen right now, and what's going to be in the patches. So, Squadron 42, the single-player content for Star Citizen, which is supposed to house over 60 missions, 28 chapters, 340 characters with speaking roles, 20 hours of performance capture, 1.2 thousand pages of dialogue, 40 ships, procedural tech that's handcrafted, dogfighting in both space and atmosphere, 24-hour schedules for AI, 1,000 plus subroutines for AI, simultaneous secondary objectives for AI. Squadron 42, it's gonna be great, but it's not coming out this year, unfortunately. It was supposed to come out in 2016, but we're not sure when it's gonna come out now. It's kind of a when it's done thing. It might be 2017, who knows. Anyway, what we should be getting at the end of this year is patch 3.0, the planet-side patch for Star Citizen, which will allow us to actually take our ships into the atmosphere of worlds and land planet-side. Among other things, hopefully we also get the Caterpillar at the end of this year, which is one of my personal favorite ships. I'm looking to make the Caterpillar the ship of our organization. Patch 3.1, that should be sometime early 2017. It's the mining and refining patch. It's also got quantum interdiction, it's got refueling, escort, additional solar system locations for planet-side stuff, new ships like the Drake Cutlass Red and Blue, the Misk Hull C, the Misk Prospector, and the Origin 85X will all be flyable. This is the wonderful little rover buggy that's kind of like a Mako. It's even got weapons. It can act as a troop transport as well. This is the EVA vessel that is on board the Aquila. Obviously, there are more EVA vessels than this one, but this is just a little taste. And that ship did not heed the warnings that we saw on the Aquila's UI as we were touching down. The warnings that were telling us that atmospheric conditions were a little hostile, which is exactly the reason why he's on foot instead of flying. And that's where we landed. And that is where one of the beacons is located. Anyway, patch 3.2 is going to be the repair and salvage patch. It'll be released in 2017 after patch 3.1, and this obviously is going to be focusing on salvage, repair, and mercenary covert operations. It's as well going to add additional solar system locations and a bunch of new ships like the Constellation Taurus, Phoenix, Anvil Terrapin, Aegis Vanguard Harbinger, Aegis Vanguard Sentinel, and Aegis Reclaimer. I'm really excited about the Reclaimer. And here we got a very Star Wars A New Hope scene. We got some space Tuxedo Raiders that just took out his Mako, and now they're shooting on it. Now he's got to defend this thing. I mean, obviously he can't take it any farther. He doesn't have any repair kits. That comes in patch 3.2. But this is obviously going to be where you want someone that's specializing as an engineer with you, or maybe even a secondary Mako. Well, obviously this isn't called a Mako. This is where you'd have a secondary rover following behind you in case you need repairs. Luckily our guy's a crack shot. I like that energy rifle, that's pretty sweet. Anyway, he's continuing on foot. He finds the first distress beacon. And this is where he finds out that the initial distress beacon was a trap set by those Tusken Raiders. Patch 3.3 is another exciting patch. That's going to be farming and rescue. Obviously it's going to have farming and rescue in it, but additional solar systems as well, and some new ships like the Anvil Carrack, the 890 Jump, the Banu Merchantman, which is a humongous ship, and all variants of the Misk Reliant. We already have one of the variants of the Misk Reliant in-game, and this right here is the Dragonfly. Well, it's actually a Tusken Raider Dragonfly, because that's who owned it. These things are sweet. They're like dirt bikes in space. Which you can also fly in space. You don't just fly them on planets, you can fly them in space, and I think that's great. You can also use them as snub fighters. You can fit a bunch of these things in some of the starships in Star Citizen and use those starships as miniature carriers. I love it. Anyway, this procedurally generated planet is pretty cool. It's got snow-capped mountains, it's got deserts with a little oasis and vegetation inside, and that is a humongous sandstorm in the distance. Battlefield 1 style, it's even got lightning inside of it. I love it. Anyway, not all the planets in Star Citizen that are procedurally generated are completely procedurally generated. In fact, I believe every single planet is partly procedurally generated and partly actually handmade and created by living, breathing developers. It means that the universe is not going to be infinite, but it's going to be... You're gonna have so many solar systems in this game. It's gonna be big enough, by far. In fact, most people aren't gonna come close to exploring everything in this game when it releases. But the fact that it's not solely procedurally generated and also handmade means that people aren't going to get a No Man's Sky experience from this. They're not going to go on these planets and feel like they're empty and devoid of life. This is kind of what Destiny was supposed to be. This is what people thought that Destiny was going to be. Obviously, that didn't turn out to be the case. Lots of people love Destiny how it is, but this is what I thought Destiny was going to be. In fact, if you showed me these clips of Star Citizen a couple of years ago, I would have thought that it was Destiny. By the way, that right there is the space station that we passed by when we flew in. That's what I told you guys to remember. You can even see the struts rotating in the distance because that's not a skybox, that's not smoke and mirrors. That was actually the space station. And like I said, these planets aren't devoid of life. They can be very, very dangerous, especially the dunes. Gotta watch out for dunes. And there's not just organic life on these planets, there's also artificial life, so to speak. Derelict space stations that crashed down to the planet's surface. Wrecks of ships, wrecks of cargo that just happened to fall a little too close to the orbit of the planet will add life to all of these different worlds. We'll also be able to find maybe sentient alien life forms, maybe some paranormal event horizon type space stuff, and this right here really makes me remember Destiny, or at least what I thought Destiny was going to be. We had a bunch of space nomads, a bunch of space scaries that decided to make their own base out of this enormous crashed ship. Who knows how long this ship has been here, but our guys got to take some cover because that is a humongous Mission Impossible 4 looking Sandstorm that's approaching. You know what this actually reminds me of? Aside from Battlefield 1, this reminds me of Call of Pripyat, which was a great Stalker game. I love Stalker, man. It was like Fallout, but in Russia. Also, this is kind of like Space Fallout, which is great. I love that. Anyway, the final patch that we're going to be getting, or the final patch that we know of that we're getting in 2017, between middle to end of 2017, is patch 4.0, Jump Points. We can now travel to multiple star systems. Its focus is exploration and discovery, science and research, and of course we have additional solar system locations, and the RSI Orion, and the Anvil Crucible. Very hyped for the Crucible, by the way. Star Citizen is the game that I've wanted ever since I was a little kid. Hell, it's the game that I've wanted every single day of my life, to be able to live in space, to be able to break this frontier and make it your own, to do whatever you want. You can be an explorer, you can be a smuggler, a mercenary, a miner, you can be a merchant, you can be a ship medic, you can be an engineer just fixing up ships, or you can be an on-foot soldier avoiding the dogfighting in space altogether. You can let other people do the flying for you. Or you could just be a turret gunner. There's so many different things you can do in this game. Regardless, if you're new to Star Citizen, I hope that this helped you out a little bit. Or even if you're not new to Star Citizen, I hope that you found this video helpful or entertaining. If you did, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe. We do all kinds of Star Citizen live streams, have all kinds of adventures with you guys, and we also make a lot of Star Citizen videos as well, like this one. But before we go, there's actually some more I want to show you. Now, this was from another part of the live stream. This is actually them inside of the dev kit just playing around, showing us this extremely sulfuric planet. This is a nasty planet. I wouldn't want to live here, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It also gives you a good look at the day-night cycle. Now, this isn't a sunset map, alright? This is not a small area that you can fly around in. He actually quantum jumped to this planet from another planet, and it just happens to be setting. The sun at this time, it just happens to be setting. It could be broad daylight if he just waited a couple more hours here. And I think that's fantastic. Anyway, this is a mining colony that he's flying around in right now. And there's another ship. And it looks really, really cool. But I can't wait for 3.0. Hopefully 3.0 is coming at the end of this year, along with my Caterpillar, my baby. But if you guys want to fly with us in Star Citizen, we have our own organization. I have links down in the description. If you are thinking about joining Star Citizen itself, you can go ahead and use my referral code if you want to. Get a free 5,000 credits to your account if you want. You can use any referral code. It'll give you 5,000 credits to your account. But I got the referral code in the description as well. However, once again, thank you guys for joining me for this video on Star Citizen. Until next time, game massively, and good luck amongst the sea of the stars.